I'm very happy to introduce our first panel of today, where we have a deep dive into a very important sector for all countries, which is the care sector. I'm happy that we have a lovely moderator with us today for this session, Valeria from KU Leuven, a researcher who has done a lot of research on undeclared work and underdeclared work across Europe, both in the gig economy as well as in sectors that have started to become like the gig economy increasingly, unfortunately. Valeria will be moderating our panel today. Valeria, welcome. Then we have from most countries, actually, some representation today. We have Sylvia from Slovakia. Welcome. You have some time to introduce yourself during the panel. We have Jakov from Croatia. Welcome. We have Jannette from UNI. And we have Adem from Turkey. Welcome. You are welcome to speak in your own language if you feel more comfortable to speak in your own language. But that means that everybody that does not speak Turkish, Croatian, or Slovak, you need your headphones. Okay, then one reminder for all the speakers, if the microphones are all on together, they sound. So if you're done speaking, please put your microphone off. Good luck.
Okay, so hello to everybody. Thank you very much to Fiona, and thank you. Oh, yes, I know. My Italian culture comes up. So thank you very much to Fiona, and thank you very much to all the BARSERVICE team, research team, Marta in particular, and also Stan and everybody. It has been really a pleasure to kind of interact with all of you. I'm in fact, as Fiona said, Valeria Pulignano. I work at the KU Leuven, and I am basically a researcher. But also I'm very much attached to the labor, I would say, to labor issues, particularly employment, industrial relations. And we have here a very interesting panel, so hello to everybody. I think the first time we meet, and hopefully we'll have the time to speak more after the panel on this care sector, which is a sector which, as also Stan mentioned, is central in our society, and is really astonishing to see how, how, I wouldn't say bad, but how important it is to improve conditions for those workers in these sectors, which remains very much also fragmented internally. I was just, looking and watching at the video, Stan. I mean, it's not just what is care, just defining care is a big issue, because it's in fact at the intersection between health, between, residential care, home care, more formal sort of employment. And let's be very clear, there is a lot of informality still out there, a lot of undeclared work in care as feminized particular workers working in there at the intersection of gender, I would say, and also race. Now, we have an interesting panel discussing upon this. As mentioned by Stan, we, in fact, will try to tackle important issues, how to fit the box into the hole, taking the metaphor of Stan, where we need to understand, of course, the challenges, first of all, that collective bargaining is facing, particularly in this sector. We need to understand the sector. And I really do hope that the conversation will be, highlighting that. So we have four outstanding speakers, Jannette, from Croatia, Union Jakov, and from Slovakia, Sylvia, and from the Turkish Union, Adem. So let's start the conversation. It will be really a conversation with all of you. And the first thing I would really like to ask to don't be so long in your answer, maximum 5 minutes, because in fact, what I would like to do is we have two, let's say, section. The first section round, and then I will open up the floor for questions that you might have. And then we carry on. So let's hope that we can do it. So I would like to start with the, in fact, understanding care and the challenges to collective bargaining in the care sector. And I have a question for Jannette. Now, if we look from a European perspective, Jannette, could you summarize what are the key challenges at the European level to collective bargaining in the care sector? And what are the strategies that UNI Europa particularly is trying to implement or to develop to tackle these challenges? Thank you.
Sure. So thank you and good morning, everybody. I think two caveats before I really dig into it. I think it's in terms of European-wide challenges, there's definitely themes and, we've heard a lot, but I also want to say that there's such diversity across Europe and so many different systems and institutional contexts that it's hard to kind of say one size fits all or this is the same here and there. But there are definitely some generalities, and I don't want to repeat everything that's been said this morning, but certainly what was said in the introduction absolutely applies to the care sector. The general decline and erosion of collective bargaining systems, fragmented industrial relations systems, and low unionisation across the sector, because it is, as you mentioned, very fragmented sector and a lot of informality. And I think one other really important point to add is the issue of investment and funding models and government's role in all of this. I think going to a lot of employers to try and bargain, there is a limited amount of resources, right? And so much of the care sector, even if it's being implemented and operationalised by private organisations, that a lot of the funding is actually coming from governments. And so it's hard to, when the cupboard is bare, to say, to go to the bargaining table and say wages need to increase if the funding is not there and the funding models are broken. In terms of what UNI is doing to address these challenges, obviously our focus is really on developing organising capacity and campaigning capacity with workers and with unions to be able to stand up, fight back and try and address some of these changes, improve workers' knowledge and education around their rights and around collective bargaining, and campaigning for better models, better regulations to support collective bargaining, and to support more investment in the care sector and greater understanding of the social value of care work and collective bargaining for those workers.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Jannette. I think you pointed a very important thing, the social value that is in care and is not recognized and is very important. Now, in the context of this limitation that Jannette talked about, also, linking to the state, the role of the state, the role of the government, I would like to ask to Jakov from a kind of Croatian perspective. Do you identify yourself? Oh, yeah, here, yeah. I need to kind of, exactly. Do you identify yourself, Jakov, about the limitation that Jannette is talking about, and what are the kind of, again, strategies there that the Croatian unions are trying to implement in order to strengthen collective bargaining?
Okay. Hello, I'm Jakov. First to introduce, I'm a secretary of a very small union that is general type union. So we organize sectors across workers across sectors. So in Croatia, for example, public sector has a stable sectoral bargaining system and it functions more or less okay. But private care sector in Croatia, and you heard some of the things today, it's fragmented, scattered, small companies dominate. There are only, for example, in nursing homes, there are only 2 companies that employ more than 100 workers. And unions are non-existent. So private care sector is not unionized and was not unionized at all before we started doing it. So there is no interest from the unions to organize it, no capacity. It's a difficult field. And, you know, it's non-profitable in a sense. You put a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and the outcome is not maybe the one that you expected. It takes a lot of resources, and in terms of membership and achievements, it's hard to get to it. So unions are more focused on their own already established paths, and they left this sector non-unionized. So we did start to unionize it, but we need to be honest. We started to unionize it only because we got support to do it. We got material, logistical support to do it, and there was a global agreement between UNI Global and Orpea, that is a multinational company that has nursing homes all around the world. So, and that was our first place to go to organize was this Senecura homes. And it's the biggest employer in nursing homes. It has 3 homes and 150 workers. So it also tells you about the scale, how scattered the field is. So there was a global agreement between UNI Global and Orpea. That is like a multinational company, has daughters Senecura, that operates in Croatia. This global agreement enabled us to enter the facilities and talk to the workers. Without that, and without some type of material support for our efforts to organize this type of sector, it would be, I mean, we will be just standing on the parking lot, trying to talk to workers who would most likely even more avoid us than they did try to avoid us when we entered the facilities. So, I mean, all the problems you've heard, basically, young people, turnover, harsh working conditions. There are also some rural areas that don't have so much job opportunities. So it was difficult to organize it, but we did it. We managed to organize, and we managed to sign the first collective bargaining agreement in Croatia in that sector. It took 1 year. It took 1 year, and it took 1 full-time job. I mean, almost. We are satisfied because it was a good collective bargaining agreement. We gained significant improvements, and we also organized another home now, and we are on the brink of signing a second collective bargaining agreement. And it is important. It is important for private care sector also. But again, if we continue to do it like we did it until now, it's going to be very slow. Without help of some bigger organization, without organizational and financial support of some bigger organization, we cannot upscale the fight on the sectoral level. We'll organize the 3rd Senecura home in Croatia. We'll try to attack maybe 2 or 3 of them. We organize also PAs, personal assistants to persons with disabilities. And but the field is like, and our resources are too small. It's 2 people employed in the union that is general union that organize also other people in other sectors. So without some type of support, either from the unions in Croatia, either from some other organizations, this sector will stay for a long time non-organized, or at least it will not be organized sectorally. Also, employers are also not organized as an employers group, so there is you need to actually create the conditions for sectoral bargaining. This is something we still don't know how to do and cannot do. So what we currently do is organize home by home. In that sense, and personal assistance, we try to scale up on some national level, but it's only in the beginning. So 2 years ago, unions were non-existent in the sector. Now we have something. But it takes a lot of resources, a lot of effort, a lot of time, and the results, even though it's really nice to have a good collective agreement, but in sense of membership, results are not great. And financially, we are in very unstable situation, even though we have some major achievements.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very important what you say. I mean, I think that the issue of the political willingness, when you mention we need the resources, we are under-resourced, we are under-financed in terms of financial support. I mean, at least to me, brings the idea of the political willingness, which of course is another big area that we might want to open with all of you, particularly in this particular moment in time, in Europe and outside Europe, I would say. But okay, that's another argument. We might not want to jump into that. We might want in the discussion afterwards. But you also mentioned, Jakov, the low union, in fact, again, going back, low union density and difficulties to organize those workers. Now, on this union side and how to organize those workers, how to make, in fact, trade unions, being able to organize those workers, I want to pass over to Sylvia. And ask from the Slovakia Union and ask, in fact, well, it seems you have a kind of example, good example, right? If I've heard correctly, in terms of, you have been able to establish these new trade unions in a full non-unionized workplaces. Can you share with us the recipe of your success? What did you do?
Dobrý deň. Dobrý deň, takže ďakujem. Volám sa Sylvia Ščepková, pracujem v Centre sociálnych služieb. Takže tu sme založili odbory ako jediný a prvý pod echos UNIJA. Oni ešte nemali založené odbory v sociálnych službách, takže začíname vlastne úplne od nuly. Podmienkou na založenie odborov je asi dôvera zamestnancov, ktorú my asi momentálne nedokážeme dať tú dôveru. Vieme pomenovať fakty, ktoré sa tu nachádzajú, ale nestretáva sa to s porozumením. Chcem povedať, že momentálne sme v situácii, v jakej sme. Ak chceme hovoriť o kolektívnom vyjednávaní, znamená to, že by sme mali s vedením prerokovávať všetky tieto veci. Vlastne, aby sme to hovorili ako rovný s rovným, aby tam neboli žiadne, že niekto je vyšší, niekto je nižší. V opačnom prípade je to diktát. Takže u nás to funguje asi týmto štýlom, že je to diktát, podporu zamestnancov ako účastníkov alebo teda členov odborovej organizácie nedokážeme získať, nakoľko sme ešte vôbec nič nevedeli urobiť, alebo teda vedeli urobiť. Momentálne sa súdime so štatutárom 3. rok. Pomenovali sme fakty, ako je, že sú tam časté úmrtia, obmedzovania osobnej slobody. Toto sú fakty, ktoré sa neriešia. A keď boli tam kontroly, ktoré to zistili, ale tie sankcie boli tak nízke, že sa naozaj oplatí porušovať zákon. Je našou úlohou komunikovať, že tieto kontroly nefungujú dostatočne. Aspoň teda u nás a nám sa to tak zdá.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. So yeah, I mean, it's not a success, if I understood well, right? Or is a success, but also with a lot of unsuccess. Probably we might
Ale
want
my to považujeme za úspech, už aj to, že teda to fungujeme a snažíme sa zlepšiť o podmienky pre zamestnancov aj pre klientov v zariadení.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I see your point. But of course, it's interesting that you raise also the problematic. So the story, continues, and we need to be always there to face the difficulties which might arise at some point. Now, I wanted again on this kind of problematic of collective bargaining in care, pass over to Adem from the Turkish Union and ask about whether if you would like to kind of see a kind of a successful, again, story about collective bargaining in care sector in Turkey, how would you see it? And how would you describe it? And what kind of lessons would you draw that could help others in other countries to kind of learn from this experience? Thank you.
Teşekkür ederim. Günaydın, merhabalar. Adem Sarıçoban ben. Türkiye Sağlık ve Sosyal Hizmet İşçileri Sendikası Genel Sekreteriyim. Aynı zamanda eski bir bakım işçisiyim ben. Aslında ülkemizde örgütlenmek, sendikalaşmak çok zor. Bir kere iş kolumuz grev yasağı kapsamında ve grev yasağı var. Aslında sözleşmeler Yüksek Öğretim Kurulu ve müzakere masasına sınırlandırılmış bir yapı. O yüzden sağlıklı bir sözleşme çıkarmak çok zor şartlarda yapıyoruz. Ama örnek bir çalışma anlatabilirim. Benim de çalıştığım 9 Eylül Üniversitesi Hastanesi'nde bakım işçilerinin yapmış olduğu verimli bir çalışma var. Ama bu genel bir çalışma mıdır? Hayır. Sadece oraya özgü maddeler var. Mesela orada ülkemizde taşeronlaştırmanın yoğun olduğu bir dönemden geçtik. Ve işte 2018 yılında kadro süreci oldu ve işçiler kadroya geçtiler. Yani kamu güvencesine geçtiler. Ve ülkemizde bakım işçilerinin aslında şöyle söylersek bir görev tanımları yok. Yani meslek tanımı yok aslında. Yani bir tanımlanmış bir mesleği yok. Sendikamız ilk önce kadro geçen işçilere meslek tanımını yaptırdı. Yani artık bakım işçilerin bir meslek olduğunu, hangi göreve tabi çalışacaklarının altını çizdi ve burada ciddi başarı elde etti. İşverenle görüşerek buradaki işçilerin eğitim almalarını sağladı. Yani burada bir bakım eğitimi, yani bakımın ne olduğu, nasıl yapılması gerektiğinin eğitimini aldılar. Ve sertifika haline getirdik biz bunları. Daha sonra ikinci dönemde sözleşmeyle beraber bakım işi yapanların maaşlarında iyileştirme yaptık. Yani eğer bakım yapıyorsa, şartlarda uyuyorsa, belge almış ise, o meslekte çalışıyor ise belli bir ücret sözleşmeyle beraber elde ettik. Ve bakım işi yapan arkadaşlarımız diğer çalışanlardan daha fazla ücrete çalışıyorlar. Ve asıl önemli olan şey şu, yaptıkları işin ne olduğunu bildikleri için daha az iş kazası, meslek hastalığı oluyor. Çünkü ciddi anlamda bir teknolojik eksiklik var. Bakımda hala el yordamıyla yapılan işler var. İşte arabalar hala manuel. Bir çevirmek için bile bir cihaz kullanılmıyor. İşte ne kadar tıpta gelişmiş olsa ve teknolojik gelişme olsa bile bakım işçilerinin çalışma koşulları hala ilkel. Dolayısıyla biz bunları çözmek için de bir mücadele ediyoruz ve o sözleşmeyle beraber oradaki bakım personelinin mesleki tanımının yapılabilmesi, yaptığı işin niteliğinin olması bizim için bir kazanımdı ve bunun ücrete dönüşmesi önemliydi. Tabii aynı zamanda o sözleşmeyle beraber cinsiyet eşitliği açısından da C90'ın sözleşmeye girmesi, buradaki işte C90 uygulanma olması çok önemli çünkü sektörün neredeyse %50'ye yakını kadın işçiler. Ve kadın işçilerin ağır çalışma koşulları var. İşte özellikle bel fıtığı gibi, boyun fıtığı gibi ciddi bir meslek hastalıklarına karşı karşıyayız. O yüzden de sendikamız hem iş sağlığı güvenliği açısından adım atmaya çalışıyor, hem meslek tanımının yayınlanmasını sağlamaya çalışıyor. Tabii bu önemli ve kazanım ama ülkemizdeki çok daha farklı bir alan var. Belki kısa değinip hemen daha sonra soru sorulursa ya da izin verirseniz anlatmak isterim. Evde bakım hizmetleri var ve güvencesiz bir çalışma ortamı. Neredeyse çalışanların %50'sinden fazlası mülteci işçiler, göçmen işçiler. Hiçbir sosyal hakları yok. Örgütlenmenin de olmadığı bir alan. Aslında bizim de tam tanımlayamadığımız, sayısını bile bilmediğimiz bir alandan bahsediyoruz. İşte kimine göre 80 bin, kimine göre 100 bin, 200 bin olan bir alandan bahsediyoruz. Ve bu alanda örgütlenmekten ziyade can güvenliğinin de olmadığı bir alandan bahsediyoruz. Çünkü evde çalışan bakım işçileri var. İşte onlarla ilgili bir meslek tanımının olmaması, aynı zamanda aslında yaptıkları işin niteliğinin olmaması çok ciddi sorun. Ülkemizdeki iş kolları meselesi, NACA kodları bunları zorlaştırıyor. İşte biz bakım yapan işletmelerin sosyal hizmetler iş olduğunu savunurken başka sendika hizmet sektöründe daha genel hizmetlerin olduğunu savunan bir durumdayız. Dolayısıyla buradaki işçilerin de örgütlenmesi bizim açımızdan çok önemli. Ama daha değerli olan şey grev yasağının bir an önce kaldırılması meselesi var. Ve buradan da biz sizden yardım istiyoruz. Avrupa'nın bildiğim kadarıyla birçok ülkesinde grev kapsamında bu iş kolları bize yasak. Ve bizi daha kötü sözleşme yapmaya zorluyor. O yüzden de bir evde bakım işlerinin örgütlenmesinin ortak bir mücadele olacağını düşünüyorum. Ve bizim bunu UNI ile beraber diğer ülkelerin de katılacağı bir kampanya var örgütlenmenin doğru olacağını düşünüyorum. Çünkü ciddi sorun yaşıyoruz ve gerçekten sömürünün her kademesinde yaşıyorlar ve ciddi bir hak kayıpları var. Yani sosyal güvencesinin olmadığı işlerden bahsediyoruz. Yani orada sigortanın bir lüks olduğu bir alandan bahsediyoruz. O yüzden buralarda ortak bir mücadele, ortak bir çağrı şeyimiz var. İşte Ceyhun Hocam da burada ortak bir iş yapmaya çalışıyoruz. İşte bir araştırma geliştirme merkezi kurmaya çalışıyor sendikamız. Bu alandaki çalışanların sorunlarını tespit etme, çözüm üretme ve örgütlenme faaliyeti yapmaya çalışıyoruz. Bir şey daha söyleyip bitireceğim izin verirseniz. Biz de aynı zamanda ülkemizde ciddi bir işten atma tehdidiyle karşı karşıyayız. Sendikalaşan bütün işler işinden oluyor. Özel sektörde 4'e yakın iş yerinde faaliyet yürütüyoruz ve neredeyse 6-7 iş yerinde üyelerinin işten çıkarıldı. Ve bunlarla dayanışma içinde olmaya çalışıyoruz. Yine sektör açısından bakıldığında güvencesiz oldukları için sendikaya bir ilişki kurma meselesinde zorluk çekiyorlar. Bunları da önemli buluyoruz. Tabii bir yana da hukuk, adalet kısmı, açılan mahkemeler var. İşte biz bir işletmenin %100'ünü üye yapsak bile bir gerekçeyle dava açılıyor ve davalar 3-4 yıl sürüyor. Bazen 5 yıl sürüyor ve oradaki üyelerimiz işten çıkmak zorunda kalıyorlar ve sendikayla bağ kopuyor. Dolayısıyla bunlar genel sorunlarımız. Bizim bunların çözüm açısından bir yol tutarsak bakım sektöründeki işlerin örgütlenmesini daha kolay yapacağımızı düşünüyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Adam. Very interesting point you put on the table. Now, if I compare to what also previously Jakov said, a lot of parallels as well, but you have been able, particularly in this particular sector, to organize. A very little question on top of what you said. What made possible for the unions to organize in this particular hospital? I mean, from where unions got the power to do that? Was it, linked to kind of contextual situation, for example, the importance of the health and, the situation of labor shortage, I might say, in the sector. So what was if you could tell very little about the contextual issue which helped unions to do and to organize those workers?
Teşekkürler. Öncelikle aslında pandemi bize bir şey gösterdi. Bir pandemi yaşadık dünyaca. Aslında pandemideki sağlık sektörünün önemi ortaya çıktı. Ve oradaki zor çalışma şartları, işte hayatını kaybeden onlar da sağlık çalışanı ve güvencesizlik aslında asıl temel bunlar. Ve düşük ücret. Yani düşük ücretin alındığı bir sektörden bahsediyoruz. Türkiye'deki en düşük maaş alan sektör sağlık sektörü. Dolayısıyla buradaki işçilerin geçineme meselesi ve ülkemizdeki ekonomik kriz, kiraların yüksek olması, geçim derdinin çok fazla olması işçilerin sendikayla buluşmasını sağlıyor. Ama oradaki sendikal hakların kısıtlanması, yasaların buna uygun olmaması da bir engel. Dolayısıyla biz imkan var, işçiler evet sendikalarla buluşmak, örgütlemek isterken bir yanıyla işverenlerin baskısı, bir yanıyla yasaların buna engel olması ciddi bir sorun çıkarıyor. Asıl sorunun çözümü bence bu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. That's very important what you said, and particularly the right of strike is also. You want to add something, Sylvia? Please go ahead.
Áno, tak ja by som chcela ešte dodať, že u nás to funguje podobne ako v tejto nemocnici. Takže ako odborári sme boli všetci prepustení, potom sme dostali ochranu, takže pán riaditeľ nás musel zobrať späť. Trvalo to dlho a už dôveru zamestnancov nedokážeme získať, pretože on verejne nás prezentuje ako zlo firmy, akože robíme zle, zakazuje s nami komunikovať a dokonca nových zamestnancov, ktorých prijíma, hovorím, že dúfam, že nevstúpite do odborov. Takže aj u nás to funguje týmto štýlom, že zamestnanci sa boja.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your, bringing these experience from your side, Sylvia. I think we are doing time, if I don't make mistake, right? I look at my people there, yeah. Well, my colleagues, actually. So I would like to take if there might be, 1 or 2, even 3 questions from the floor at this point in time, if, again, there might be questions. And I would like to cluster them if there might be. Look around. Yes, I see Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much for all your contributions. My question really goes to this, to all 3. I was wondering, to what extent you think your governments have created a market for care, or like a private market for care, without putting any safeguards, for workers into place, because it seems to be the case that, well, we just open up everything, let the market rule, and then afterwards, the unions are picking up the slack for what the government actually should be regulating in one way or another. So I would like to know whether, when the market for care was created, whether there were any kind of discussions, or whether there currently are any discussions on creating some of, like some safeguards for workers, some conditionalities as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I look here around if there is any other point. Okay, so let's give the opportunity perhaps to all of you to reply if you wish, of course, to the question. So please, probably we can start from here and then go back. Yeah, Sylvia, want to?
Môžem. Takže štát neviem, ako by nám pomohol, a tento systém není na to nastavený, na tie sociálne služby asi ešte není dobre domyslený. Ako som hovorila, kontroly k nám chodia, potvrdili nedostatky. My sme za to kriminalizovaní, za to, že sme na to poukázali. Politici odmietajú vyvodiť zodpovednosť. Prokuratúra koná, ale vlastne nekoná, iba skúša kriminalizovať zase nás. Takže u nás ja v tomto nevidím nejaký postup ani pomoc. Jediné, komu by som chcela poďakovať, je asi UNI Europe, ktorá nám pomáha.
Please, the other who wants to add anything, please.
In Croatia, it's like that after the transition to freedom, the government gave up on some type of improving existing social services or addressing the needs that were emerging by aging population. Now I will focus more on nursing elderly care homes. So not one or just one home was built from the 90s to now, and few on the local level. Rest of them was just come in, and the good situation, the good opportunity for them was because government is like pulling out or not satisfying the need, so market is opening. There is a plenty of all the elderly people coming, and now we're just happy that we have private providers that are doing something that government gave up. Government also outsourced some services to NGOs, where we have personal assistance to the people with disabilities, work for minimum wages, and it's like that. The only thing that the workers are protected is labor law and minimum wage law. In the care sector, we are now happy to have them because there is actually a scarcity, big scarcity of homes. In private sector, only the rich people can afford it. But even then, it's a scarcity. And there are some regulations. Government gave some regulations, but they will not enforce them. They will not enforce them because the idea is it's better to have home as ever it is, better to have the facility than to close it because some minor technicalities that often then goes on the back of the workers. I mean, understaffing and the horrible working conditions and lack of the equipment and blah, blah, blah, it actually falls down to the back of the workers and, of course, the users, or how do you say it, patients. But government is happy that somebody is doing that job and they will not push hard to regulate it and to improve it. And they don't really intervene. They don't even finance it. So we're happy to have the private sector to fill in the gaps in any way the sector thinks it should be filled and to earn money on it, because Senecura is very profitable, for example. They're earning money and they're not being controlled.
Okay. Any one of you wants to say something?
Ya aslında denilen şeye aynen katılıyorum. Yani birebir Türkiye örneğini anlattı arkadaşımız ama şöyle bir durum var. Aslında kamu eliyle yapılan iş yerlerinde kısmi bir denetim var. Ama burada bütün olanaklar ya da oradaki bütün sorumlular bir ceza alıyor mu? Hayır. Özel sektörde, özel bakım evlerinde kısmi bir denetim var ama evde bakımlarda bence hükümetin sayısına bile bilmediğini düşünüyorum. Bırakın denetimi, bırakın güvenlik önlemini. Çünkü orada bir sigortasız, kayıt dışı çalışmanın yoğun olduğundan bahsediyoruz. Dolayısıyla asıl benim biraz önce ifade ettiğim şey orasıydı. Yani yoksa kurulan özel kuruluşlarda kısmi bir denetim kendini gösteriyor. Ama orada Türkiye'de de asgari ücret seviyesinde işler çalışıyor. İşte sendikalaşması çok zor ama evde bakımda evde yaşlı bakanlar açısından hiçbir güvence ve güvenlik önlemi de yok. Onu söyleyebilirim.
Jannette, you want to say something about this conversation?
Sure. I think I would just add, I'm in a little bit of a different position from these guys, but I totally agree with the premise of Mark's question. It's something that I think we see playing out across Europe, certainly, with these three unions that I've had the pleasure of working with and many other across the continent, but also more broadly across the world. So my personal background is, before I was here, I was a care worker and unionist in Australia, and I see many parallels between Europe and Australia, and ultimately the outcome of the way governments have just opened up the private care market with little regulation is that we see an epidemic of working poor across care workers and a crisis of substandard care outcomes for the clients and the patients who are needing that care. And I think it really is up to unions. It has been left to unions, and we can see in some places where unions are having success and winning, but we do absolutely need to organise to change those regulations, to get governments to move, to invest more in the sector, to tighten up regulations, to really encourage and force employers to take more responsibility and come to the bargaining table so that workers can get a fair deal, can have dignity in their life with decent wages and conditions, and so that we can actually provide true high quality health and care services to the people who need it.
Yeah. And this, I think, probably, if I might say, is again going back to what I was pointing before, the political situation at the moment. Do we have the political conditions? Let's be very honest. I don't think the political conditions probably are there but the conditions, the local conditions for unions to kind of mobilize, organize those workers, and I think, the example of the Turkish, a very important one, are there. There is at least a possibility to do that. Now let's go on before the time goes too close to the end. Now we have been talking about what was happening and what is happening and all the problematics that you have mentioned, including the right of strike, which is something that I think we should come back to that at some point. Let's see whether time allows us. But I want to look a bit to the future. And again, to you, Jannette, I would like to ask, if you look ahead to 2026, what kind of concrete plans or initiative would you see that Uni Europa can, in fact, deliver, prepare in order to strengthen, in fact, collective bargaining, helping also in the care sector?
Thank you. In 2026, Uni Europa will continue the work that we're doing, continuing to support unions and care workers to build their organising capacity and strengthen their unions so that they do have the power to try and change some of these systematic issues that we're seeing across the sector. That's the first and foremost priority, is that organising and the capacity building. Part of that also needs to be a focus on building alliances across the care sector, engaging with employers and helping them understand their obligations, but also the benefits for them to engage in collective bargaining and the social benefits of engaging in collective bargaining, and I think helping to create that political climate, right? And help ensure that the decision makers feel that there is an imperative actually to act, that they need to act to help provide the conditions for care workers to better be able to organise, unionise, be represented, and collectively bargain so that we can raise the floor across the care sector in terms of wages and conditions, and so that we can have the quality of care that citizens across Europe rightly expect. I think where there's opportunities, Jakov was talking about, you know, the global agreements, where there's opportunities that can be really helpful, continuing to engage where we can in EU institutions and supporting unions to engage at a national level with their institutions to try and change policy and have more supportive policy, and advocating, I think, for targeted support for the care sector in particular, under broader social rights and labour frameworks, for care workers to be recognised as a distinct group needing strong representation and particular support to achieve that strong representation and bargaining coverage and social protection because of the unique challenges this sector faces, but also because of the unique value and importance of this sector in terms of the service that they're actually delivering to society.
Yes, thank you, Jannette. Going on this, you know, future thing, Jakov, well, actually we heard from the Turkish experience, interesting example. There might be other examples, perhaps from other countries, and perhaps you might have other examples here about successful practices, internationally speaking, using collective bargaining in doing things. So do you have any other examples that you think that could be an inspiring practice for us that you want to tell us?
I mean, I had to prepare myself for these questions. I mean, there are many good stories, many inspirational stories. You have Hungary; they won a 20% increase in 1 year. You have Australia, UWU, that through organizing made legislative changes, increased funding to the sector. So it's a great example of solving systemic problems, not only wage increases. You have the UK GMB that won a statutory sick pay for 19,000 care workers, and there are many different other stories. I mean, also our story in Croatia could be inspirational because it was a CBA, first CBA in the sector from, I'm not a big experienced unionist with big tricks in my sleeve. I just got support to do it and was and put my effort into it, and people recognize it, and together with the people, I mean, I often tell that it's my job to to paint the horizon to the workers that something can be possible, but then they start to return to you this horizon and paint it together with you, and they also told you they also push your own imagination what is possible when they start doing it. So this process is not like it's not rocket science or something. It just needs researchers' time and will, and you can do it. That is inspirational. But I just want to stress, I mean, this whole example shows that organizing and fighting can lead to something that we don't even believe it's possible. But actually, to be honest, the biggest inspiration are not the stories from around the world. The biggest inspirations are the workers you organize with. Anyone who organizes know that moment when the workers start to change the way they think and behave, when they start to when they evolve some courage, when they became more courageous, or when they realize that they have power in their hands and now start to using it. When they start taking things in their own hands. And like the best sentence I ever heard in unionizing, or one of the best, was the moment when they say to you, we will go to the boss alone. Jakov, don't go with us. We'll go alone and we will tell him that he's full of shit ourselves. You don't go with us. So, I mean, that's the inspiration. That's really inspirational thing. Okay. Maybe we can add, when I see these pictures, you know, when I see these presentations of stories of workers together achieving a fight, what really inspires me that I'm imagining workers that I work with to be on that panel and to be that happy and to be proud of it. These images maybe just, I want us to have this experience of when that's maybe the most inspirational. But yeah, you get inspiration from the field, from the people you work with, not through big narratives. For me, at least in union job.
Yeah, thank you. Without boundaries. I agree. Now, we talked about the importance of UNI Europa, the global agreement, and so, Sylvia, is there anything else that you think UNI Europa could do or other global organizations could do to help and support unions in their own fighting for, you know, better collective bargaining, a better condition for workers in care?
Tak už, ako som povedala, potrebujeme získať v prvom rade dôveru zamestnancov a tu nezískame spôsobom takým, aký to je, aký momentálne existuje. Potrebovali by sme podporu asi od všetkých. Neviem, naozaj. Je to ťažké.
Yes, I see the point, but perhaps we can take it together also with Adem and you know, you can think upon, I mean, in terms of, for example, we also do know, we have a lot of kind of structures at the European level, okay, you know, the UNI, but also we have social dialogue committee, also within UNI Europa and so forth. Is there anything that, and this is also addressed, you know, for you, Adem, is there anything that will really make a difference in strengthening collective bargaining that could really, you know, make a difference in helping you within these structures? Yeah, who wants to? Yeah, probably Adem can, and then Sylvia, you fill in. Yeah.
Teşekkürler. Aslında UNI ile biz tanıştığımızdan bugüne kadar 3 defa eğitim yaptık. Ve aslında faydalı da oldu. En azından bir örgütlenme, orta örgütlenme ne olduğunu, beraber nasıl yaparızı tartıştık. Bu bizim için iyi bir deneyimdi. Çünkü hem Avrupa'daki deneyimleri bize aktardılar, hem de kendi örgütlenme buradaki başarılarını bizle paylaştılar. Dolayısıyla bizim açımızdan bu geliştirici bir şeydi. Biz bunun devamını tabii ki istiyoruz ve yapıyoruz da. Şu anda yapacağız herhalde. İleride bir daha yapacağız. Ama şöyle bir şey var. Sonuç olarak temel bir sorun var. Sorun tespiti ve çözüm açısından bir şey söylememiz lazım. Şimdi sorun şu: işçiler geçinemiyor, güvencesiz ve hiçbir haktan faydalanamıyor. Sendikaların buralarda bir birliktelik, beraber çalışmayı örgütlemesi gerekir. Bu açıdan da bizim şöyle şeylerimiz var. İşte biraz önce söyledim. Bir, bu alanın iyi tanınması, tahlil edilmesi ve ikincisi işçiye doğru çağrılar yapmak gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Mesela ülkemizde hala çalışma süreleri 45 saat ve uzun çalışıyoruz. İşte biz yılbaşından önce kampanya vari bir örgütlenme hedefliyoruz. İşte grev yasaklarına karşı bir mücadele, işte yüksek çalışma koşullarının düşürülmesi, işte meslek tanımlarının yayınlanması bakım işçiler açısından ve görev tanımlarına uygun çalıştırılması, işte iş güvencesi, sendikal haklar gibi bir dizi kampanya var, iş yapacağız. Yine ülkemizde vergi çok yüksek. Neredeyse ülke gelirinin tüm vergisini işçiler ödüyor. Yani daha sonra Bodrum çalışanlar ödüyor, işçisi memuru ödüyor. Dolayısıyla vergi meselesinin önemli olduğunu düşünüyoruz. Aslında işçilerin genel sıkıntılarının sendikal tarafından talep haline getirilmesini ve bu örgütlenmeyi becermemiz gerekiyor. Ha, bu tek başımıza bizim yapacağımız bir sorun değil. Aslında buradaki tüm katılımcıların ortak bir desteğiyle yapacağımızı düşünüyoruz. Mesela grev meselesi desteklenmeli diye düşünüyorum. İşte çalışma sorunu ortak bir sorun ve bizim ciddi bir sorunumuz. Çünkü emeklilik çok uzun. İşte 60 yaşında emekli oluyoruz ve ortalama 45 yıl çalışmak zorunda kalıyoruz. Ki bakım sektörünün ağırlığını düşündüğümüzde bu sektörde 50 yaşında bir insanın çalışması da mümkün değil bu teknolojiyle. O yüzden buraların daha fazla irdelenmesine, buralardan daha fazla iş çıkarmaya ihtiyaç olduğunu düşünüyoruz. İşte o yüzden kuracağımız araştırma merkeziyle buraların belki altyapısını oluşturması gerektiğini, dilimiz, yani seslenişimizin, işçi hitabımızın belki buradan gelişeceğini düşünüyoruz. Hem buradaki uluslararası bilgi paylaşımı, buradaki ortak hürmet işler bizim de ufkumuzu açıyor. Biz burada olmaktan mutluyuz. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you very much, Adam. Sylvia, would you like to say something on top of this?
No, ja som chcela ešte povedať, že čo sa týka toho kolektívneho vyjednávania, najprv by sme sa museli dostať k tomu kolektívnemu vyjednávaniu. To znamená, že by nás museli akceptovať a počúvať. A pokiaľ nás nikto nebude počúvať a nebude nás akceptovať a nebude nás prizývať na vyjednávanie alebo na nejaké dohodnutia, takže z toho vyplýva asi, že nikdy to nebude rovnocenný partner náš, ako je štatutár, takže neviem, ako by sme to zmenili, ako by nám pomohli odbory a čo počúvam, tak áno, oni vyjednávajú v tom štýle, že ich niekto počúva, že ich akceptuje a nedehonestuje ako odbory. Takže asi tak. U nás je tiež veľký problém. Je tam podstav zamestnancov, samozrejme na 47 klientom, tam bývame 2-3, niekedy 4 s ťažkosťou. Pracujú nám tam zdravotné sestry, ktoré sú už vo vyššom dôchodkovom veku, sú 70 rokov, 78 rokov má druhá. A keď takáto pani má byť 12 hodín na smene, a sú tam klienti s ťažkými aj psychiatrickými diagnózami, ktorých treba sledovať. Takže keď to neustriehne, tak v rámci bezpečnosti svojej a bezpečnosti tých klientov musí tých klientov zamknúť, čož už hraničí asi s obmedzovaním osobnej slobody, na čo sme už tiež poukazovali. Jednoducho nemá na výber, ale stále sa to netýka štatutára, že je tam podstav, lebo vykážeme na papieri, áno, 20 pracovníkov na zdravotný úsek, ale z toho asi 8 pracovníkov je na polovičný úväzok, takže to sú 4 reálne, keď sú na polovičný úväzok 8. Takže máme takéto problémy a to sa všetko skováva, zametá sa to pod koberec a nerieši sa nič. My sme stále kriminalizovaní za to, že pomenovávame tieto fakty a pracovníci, ktorí sa ozvú, že nevládzu alebo že boja sa, že ohrozujú, keď je tam podstav, ohrozujú život a zdravie tých klientov, tak sú nejasnými spôsobmi prepustení z práce skôr, ako začnú niečo riešiť.
Thank you, Sylvia. I think we are there. So we have done with our 45 minutes, if I don't make a mistake. But I would, if they are oh yes, sorry. If so, I was saying that we are done with the 45 minutes. But if there is any question from the floor, I see one hand up. Please go ahead.
Bună. În publicațiile de presă nu puteți găsi un partener în care să expuneți toate lucrurile care vi se întâmplă, toate barierele care vi se pun și automat informația și asta să ajungă la cât mai multă lume. În sensul ăsta, companiile sau instituțiile de stat o să ia mai mult drepturile angajaților în considerare, având în vedere că se pune o bulină neagră pe companiile respective sau nu sunt niște companii care să ofere nici siguranța angajaților și totodată nici condiții foarte bune clienților lor.
Mulțumesc frumos! Numele meu este Paraschiv Constantin, sunt președintele Federației Sindicatelor din Asigurări și Bănci din România. Nu am o întrebare, dar simt nevoia să fac câteva remarci cu privire la discuția pe care am avut-o. În primul rând, eu vreau să-i felicit pe colegii din Slovacia și din Turcia, pentru că în Turcia și în Slovacia, pentru a putea să fii lider sindical, trebuie să ai un foarte mare curaj. Noi cunoaștem politica antisocială și antisindicală încurajată de către guvernele țărilor respective. Avem o experiență neplăcută în România cu o firmă din Cehia, în care firma respectivă a dat dispoziție să ne omoare un lider sindical. Iar liderul sindical a fost ucis din dispoziția șefului companiei respective. Deci pentru mine este o mare bucurie să aflu că totuși în cele două țări sunt și oameni curajoși. Aș veni să o completez pe colega din Slovacia și să vă spun că în opinia noastră nu este nevoie doar să încurajăm pe oameni, pentru că oamenii ar avea să comunicăm cu oamenii, ci avem nevoie să încurajăm mai mult și să încurajăm, de asemenea, să trimitem un mesaj foarte clar către guverne și către angajatori să-și ia mâna de pe libertățile noastre de organizare sindicală pentru a putea să ne reprezentăm oamenii așa cum trebuie. Asta trebuie să fie mesajul nostru important. Și mai am un mesaj și apreciez extraordinar de mult intervenția colegei noastre de la UNI Europa. Noi cunoaștem foarte bine, UNI Europa se implică foarte mult în foarte multe proiecte, numai că, de multe ori, fondurile sunt extrem de limitate și nu sunt suficiente pentru a putea să răspundem tuturor problematicilor de la nivel european. Asta presupune, în schimb, că Parlamentul European ar trebui să fie ceva mai atent la problemele noastre și să vină să ne încurajeze și să ne sprijine mai mult prin mai multe proiecte pentru a putea să dezvoltăm și să reprezentăm așa cum ar trebui salariații pentru nivelul secolului la care ne aflăm. Totuși, nu putem să mai vorbim de o luptă împotriva organizării sindicale pe care o simțim foarte direct din partea atât a guvernelor care încurajează companiile să împiedice dezvoltarea activității sindicale. Atât am avut de spus, vă mulțumesc.
Okay, so perhaps I would stop here. Is there anybody else that wants to intervene? Oh, there. Yeah. Okay. Very, very short. Very short. Then, yeah. And then we.
Ja by som chcela ešte odpovedať tomu pánovi z tých médií. Myslím, že som dobre pochopila otázku, že by sme to mali medializovať a že možno by sa to potom trochu posunulo. Vy ste hovorili? Takže chcem povedať, áno, medializovali sme tieto problémy zamestnaní. Za to boli moji 3 kolegovia, ktorí vypovedali o týchto podmienkach, prepustení. Ja som bola prepustená ako predseda aj napriek tomu, že som tam nevystupovala v tej televízii. Tie podmienky tam boli popísané, povedané, všetko. Pokiaľ sa to dostalo vyššie, boli tam nejaké fotky, ktoré poukazovali na to, že sú tam tí klienti bití. Kolegyňa, ktorá sa vyjadrila, ktorá je momentálne, alebo už teda dlhodobo a momentálne na invalidnom dôchodku z toho všetkého, tvrdila, že ten jeden klient ubil toho druhého na smrť. Boli tam tieto fotky. Štatutár sa vyjadril v tom zmysle, že sú to fotky, ktoré sme klientov natáčali v chulostivých situáciách, vlastne za to nás kriminalizujú a nikto, žiadne orgány trestné v činnom konaní sa neuistili, že tí klienti tam boli, áno, boli tam na fotkách, ale neboli v chulostivých situáciách, ale sme chceli poukázať na to, teda, alebo sme chceli hovoriť o tom, ktoré fotky tam boli pridané, že tí klienti sú tam bití. Nikto toto nerieši, stále sa robí hmla medzi tým, že tam je to všetko v poriadku a my sme tí, ktorí sme tie fotky vlastne šírili, aj keď sme ich nešírili my, pretože tá pani z tých médií sa venovala tomuto domovu už asi rok. Takže tak.
Regarding media, media can be a good leverage point to pressure the employer, especially in the context where the strike and right to strike is limited. I mean, not necessarily right to strike, but the willingness to strike in a nursing home, at least in my experience, was very low because of the feeling of responsibility to the workers. So some longer strike is not so much an option. Then media pressure can be a good leverage point, especially because the management actually afraid of it, because all of the customers Google it, blah, blah. But yeah, that is a good leverage point. But on the other hand, we need to be aware media wants to bite on something that is really big enough, scandalous, shocking, or blah, blah, blah. It can then also provide you problems again with the management if you go too far, if you still hope that you will have a dialogue. And the second thing, I mean, the media is controlled by 2 or 3 very, very rich people, conglomerates who will not be on your side. Like they will not follow your struggle. The media that will follow your struggle are mostly smaller, independent, and don't have so big of a outreach. So it's a valid strategy, but we need to be aware of all the risk and be smart how to use it. That's my opinion.
Okay, so I think we are done. Well, let me give a big applause to the panelists. Very much. Thank you very much to everybody, to Sylvia, to Jakov, to Jannette, and to Adem. It was really interesting to meet you, and thank you for your stories, to telling us and sharing with us. Thank you.